When it comes to our world, everybody can see it as both good and bad, black or white. Sure, there are shades of gray to it all, but when all of the white from that gray fades away, we get darkness. We get black. Evil, you could say. We get the villains of the world. People who want nothing more than to hurt you and everybody you love. Whether it's through financial gain or because they get a sick little pleasure out of it. Things like the media and storytelling have turned these villains into foils for a protagonist. Someone who personifies this black void of the world to oppose the lightness of our hero. However, from a viewing standpoint, these villains can become the most interesting parts of a story. People like Walter White from Breaking Bad to Syndrome from The Incredibles have become cultural icons through just how evil they are. So today, I look at these sorts of characters and see what makes them so great and so memorable. What makes for a good villain? One of the main issues that you can see through most stories is that the villain is mainly evil for the sake of being evil and for the plot of the story. This typically means that there's never a real reason behind their acts or destruction. This lack of a deeper meaning behind an antagonist's goals can create a bored or uninterested audience. There are plenty of examples of this, like in the MCU for instance. People look at villains like Red Skull, Ronin, and Yellow Jacket, and a handful of other ones, and say that Marvel has boring villains. However, this is because on the big screen, the audience just aren't given a chance to go deeper into their lore and backstory. They are never shown why they want to do these evil acts or why they want to gain all this power. Most of these villains don't have a personal reason or attachment as to why they want to do these heinous acts. A villain can't be a villain for the sake of being evil. Usually a good villain tends to have understandable reasoning as to why they want to do what they do. The reason Thanos has become such a beloved and interesting character for the people watching is because he has been filled with so much background story throughout the past 10 years of the MCU. His overall threat and personal reasoning behind what he does has just been built and built and built more and more over the years until we finally got to see Infinity War. We watched as he made difficult choices of killing entire races in order to try to save them. The movies show why he believes that he is doing the right thing, not for any sort of self-gain, but through saving the universe in his eyes. And sure, these don't have to be completely justified reasons. The reasoning can end up being for almost no reason at all, but to help prove a point. The reasoning doesn't have to be necessarily as catastrophically important as Thanos. The reasoning can be small scale and still have as much weight to the audience if you portray it right. Something as simple as Walter White wanting to make a better life for his family after he dies is not only a simple concept to think up and grasp at, but it's also one that creates a better attachment towards the character. We watch him go through this arc of being one of the good sides of humanity to one of the most heinous and evil sides of it. Throughout watching this story of Walter White, even though he turns into almost a sadistic figure at the end, the audience still understands what he's doing and why he's doing it. Things like taking someone's life to a good villain should be portrayed almost as a sacrifice. A sacrifice that is used to prove a point. If there's no point to why you would kill somebody, then why, as an audience, should I be invested in that person you're killing and why you're killing them in the first place? If there's no interesting reason behind a villain, then there's no interesting reason to pay attention to them as they commit their crime. Now, no despicable villain is without their devious act, but this act should be crucial to their character. Take, for example, Gru from Despicable Me. Yes, I know, that's a weird comparison to just throw into this, when we're talking about Walter White and such. But it kind of fits perfectly. Also, how else am I gonna get that sweet, sweet minion love in my search tags? Anyways, throughout Gru's life, he has always wanted to go to the moon and to claim it as his own. After being told no constantly by his mother and always being talked down to by everybody, he decides to do it anyways. The act of stealing the moon not only helps the audience see his moral reasoning behind his actions, but also, for him, stealing the moon gives him a purpose. A purpose that is understandable, even though, to be honest, it's quite ridiculous. When a criminal commits a crime, there should be a reason. The crime the character makes should make the most sense to their character. Doc Ock robs banks to fund his evil projects. The Joker burns down buildings to show off his lunacy. You don't see things like Doc Ock running around in clown makeup, or the Joker creating nuclear fusion. The idea is simple. Just keep your characters consistent. If someone's whole idea is that they want to become the king of the world, then why do they want to be king of the world in the first place? There should be a reasoning behind it. They must have a certain emotional reasoning behind why they want to do this act in the first place. They say that your actions define you, which is something that most writers should remember. What someone does in a story is what will be remembered by the audience, especially when there's a deeper meaning to it, and if it will help progress the plot. When it comes to the most popular heroes, it is typically helped by a equally popular villain. Batman has his Joker, Harry Potter has his Voldemort, Mufasa has his Scar, etc, etc, etc. A villain is typically designed to create tension and an overall sense of heroism in the main character. So when most villains are portrayed on screen as nothing more than one-dimensional, then it can make the hero and overall story seem lazy and suffer. If a villain acts like nothing more than someone who wants to do bad things, then the hero can seem through that they're just doing good things for no reason either. This is something so simple and yet so underutilized. Villains create an atmosphere that is dark and needs to be stopped. But the best villains are the ones who are in that darkness for another reason. A reason that makes sense. A reason that can be sympathetic. I know that I said in the beginning of this that villains are kind of the black of the world. The best villains have both good and bad. Have both black and white. Not just black. The best villains go through something traumatic and horrible and then take that to heart in a sadistic way. They could end up in a position of hatred and evil. Even though the best heroes go through the same thing, but come out in the end as someone more wholesome, not evil, not dark, but they come out into the light. The best heroes take those hard times and turn them positive, while the best villains need to have those hard times and then turn them negative. The audience can sympathize with both the villain and the hero, but still know that the villain is despicable and is wrong. So, what makes a good villain? A good villain has a purpose that not only makes sense, but can be sympathized with the audience itself. Because the world isn't just made of black and white. There are a whole bunch of grays. That's what we are. We are shades of grays. And I think the best villains are just the darker shades of grays. Anyways, that's gonna have to be the end of this video here. Did you guys like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of my over-analytic and dorky content, why not check out this video here? And while you're staring at this outro screen, why not click this little subscribe button? Anyways, hope you have a good day, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye! Yo.